Chapter 81, He Won't Be the Old Man's Bastard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Behind Lu Muhan stood a group of sharply dressed young people, both men and women. Several of the women were knockout gorgeous, real stunners. Still, they seemed to fade into the background next to Lu Muhan. Everyone's eyes were glued to her. Even Yang Ling was momentarily speechless. Everyone was thinking the same thing, she's an angel. Her arrival brought the room to a standstill. Some ladies who'd been keeping a low profile rushed to Mr. Lu like he was their savior. One of them said, "Sir, Yang Ling just assaulted people in front of everyone. You have to do something about this." "Do something?" Mr. Lu scoffed. "If it weren't for Yang Ling, I'd be pushing up daisies right now. Let me make this clear. From this moment on, Yang Ling is family. Direct family. So, why would I take your side?" The lady was floored. Everyone was. They knew the old man was partial to Yang Ling, but with something this serious, they figured he'd at least give Yang Ling a stern talking to smooth things over, a slap on the wrist, right? Instead, the old man publicly adopted him into the family, declaring Yang Ling a direct member, just like Lu Muhan. People's eyes popped. They might not know the details of Yang Ling and Lu Muhan's relationship, but they knew the old man was usually fair. This was both unexpected and, in a weird way, understandable. Everyone's gaze shifted to Yang Ling, and fear turned to something closer to flattery, but Yang Ling just smiled. "You're too kind, sir. I'm still a Yang, after all. Going forward, I hope our two families can work together. I'll be counting on your guidance." A collective gasp went through the crowd. He was letting them down gently, making it clear, "I'm a Yang, not a Lu." Everyone else was clawing their way in, trying to get a piece of the Lu family pie, but Yang Ling was politely declining a seat at the table, seemingly without a second thought. What kind of confidence did this kid have? Everyone was shocked, but Mr. Lu just smiled, seeing the sincerity in Yang Ling's eyes. Everyone has their own agenda. One son of his was in politics, the other in the military. His granddaughter, who he left behind, ran Muhua Group. Yang Ling was powerful, but the old man couldn't quite figure him out. If the day came when Lu Muhan couldn't control Yang Ling, Muhua Group would likely split off. But looking into the young man's clear eyes, hearing his public statement, the old man was confident that even after he was gone, the Lu family would survive and thrive. He laughed. "You're right, Yang Ling. I'm rushing things. We can talk about this later." He stepped forward, grabbed Yang Ling's arm, and said, "Come on, I've got some good wine stashed away. Let's have a drink tonight." Everyone's jaws hit the floor. Yang Ling turned down membership to the inner circle, and the old man doubled down on the hospitality. If Yang Ling's parents weren't around, they'd swear he was the old man's secret love child. Chapter 82, This is Yang Ling again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding, you fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. Wish value +1. Current progress, October 10th. You can now make a wish. Yang Ling smiled, already knowing exactly what he wanted to wish for. Behind them, Lin Xiaoshuang was surprised. Who knew? He's not exactly a pushover. She was one of the few in the know about Lu Muhan and Yang Ling's situation. She used to look down on Yang Ling, and while she still did, her opinion of him had shifted a bit after recent events. Lu Muhan watched Yang Ling's back with a subtle smile. Ding, Lu Muhan thinks the host is independent and not motivated by money. Her favorability towards you has increased by 5, currently at 5. Yang Ling looked back, surprised, and caught her eye. A blush crept across Lu Muhan's beautiful face, and she looked away, a little shy. Yang Ling, taken aback, shook his head with a smile. Mr. Lu and the others' arrival formalized the party, but it was clear that Yang Ling was the man of the hour. The socialites gradually gravitated toward Yang Ling, many offering an olive branch, hoping to get on his good side, but they couldn't be too obvious with the old man around. Eventually, old man Lu got tired of them being loud and shooed them away. Immediately, those people turned their attention to Yang Ling's parents. Not knowing about Yang Ling and Lu Muhan, they even considered trying to set up their daughters with him. Sure enough, some of the daughters they were promoting were at the reception, all slim and pretty. Yang Jianjun and his wife were all smiles, but since Yang Ling had told them they wanted to keep their marriage under wraps, they agreed but didn't say anything. Besides Yang Ling, the other person who was the center of attention at the reception was Lu Muhan. Her appearance and makeup were truly stunning, and young guys and older men alike kept sneaking glances her way. Besides her best friend, Lin Xiaoshuang, Lu Muhan was also surrounded by several handsome young men. One, tall and good-looking, about 25 or 6, said with a polite smile, "Muhan, may I have this dance later?" Lu Muhan ignored him. Everyone around was stunned, then followed the female president's gaze and saw Yang Ling. "It's Yang Ling again." The faces of several young masters darkened, and the handsome guy who'd asked Lu Muhan to dance looked ready to kill. This was Zhang Jiehua, normally the center of attention for all the ladies. In the past, many thought he had the best chance of winning Lu Muhan's heart, but now, this golden boy, almost perfect in everyone's eyes, was extremely unhappy. His mother had been put in her place by Yang Ling. Even though it turned out her arm wasn't broken, just badly bruised, it was still a slap in the face. He was used to having everyone tripping over themselves to be around him, but now Yang Ling was the one getting the attention, not him. What made it worse was that Lu Muhan kept looking at Yang Ling and hadn't even heard him. "Muhan," Lin Xiaoshuang said unhappily, "Brother Jiehua is talking to you." "Huh." Lu Muhan let out a soft cry and came back to reality. She realized everyone was looking at her strangely, and blushed, saying, "Brother Jiehua. What's up?" Their faces fell at this response. Chapter 83. This is not the key, but the innocence of the granddaughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hold on a sec. Even though she was annoyed, the goddess had to keep up appearances. Zhang Jiehua pressed his luck. "Muhan, would you do me the honor of a dance later?" Lu Muhan was taken aback and almost blurted out, "I'm too old for that." Stopping mid-sentence, she seemed to realize her mistake. After a slight chuckle, she said casually, "Sorry, I'm not up for dancing tonight." "Oh." Zhang Jiehua frowned. Lu Muhan had always politely turned him down before, which he chalked up to her personality. The hint of apology in her eyes usually showed that she at least cared about his feelings, but tonight, the Ice Queen was unusually cold, barely acknowledging him, let alone apologizing. It was like she didn't even want to look at him. He glared at Yang Ling, his eyes burning with resentment. "Ding! You crushed Zhang Jiehua's hopes of dancing with Lu Muhan. Attribute point +1, asterisk seriously, asterisk talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. How was he supposed to stop people from having crushes?" Yang Ling glanced at a few spoiled rich kids glaring at him from across the room and felt a chill run down his spine. "System, I want to wish for mastery of all talents, like singing, dancing, acting, everything." Ding! Don't get greedy. You can only pick one skill to enhance. Yang Ling sighed. Figures, the system wasn't that easy to exploit, one step at a time. After hesitating, he said solemnly, "Fine, then let's go with dancing." Ding! Wish granted. You have acquired the skill, Dance Mastery. Instructions, you have mastered every dance style invented by humans. Ding! Your charisma +1, with a grin, he assigned his attribute points. Now, his strength and agility were both at 20, his stamina was at 19, and his mental strength remained at 16, charisma was now at a respectable 6, next to him, Mr. Lu chuckled, "Ling, what are you smiling about?" Yang Ling grinned and said, "Just thinking about something funny." Grandpa Lu assumed he was thinking about his granddaughter and said proudly, "No need to be shy. A fair maiden and a noble gentleman, and all that. However, your relationship needs to stay under wraps for a while. Muhan's in a sensitive position, and her personal life could affect the company's stock price. She just joined the company, so let's wait for things to stabilize before the wedding." To be honest, Yang Ling didn't want to get married so soon. He said cautiously, "So, how should we play this?" Mr. Lu chuckled, "I've already talked to Fian about it. It can't be public yet, but you're already married on paper. From now on, you'll live in this villa with Mu-Han, and you'll also be the company's vice president. The salary is $1 million a year. What do you think?" As he spoke, he pressed a key into Yang Ling's hand, a man and a woman alone together in a villa. This wasn't just handing over a key, it was practically handing over his granddaughter's virtue. Yang Ling took the key, dazed, and said with a wry smile, "Grandpa, you know Lu Dong wants a divorce, and she's not exactly thrilled about living with me. Besides, I'm about to take the college entrance exam. I'm not sure I'm qualified to be a vice president." Mr. Lu laughed, "Whether she likes it or not, you've got the key now. What happens next is your problem. And going to college won't affect your job at the company." Chapter 84: The Stage to Show Talent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hold on a second. After a moment of hesitation, Yang Ling smiled and nodded. "If that's what you want, then that's what we'll do." Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. Wish value +1. Current progress, January 10th. Even though his wish had been granted, old Mr. Lu noticed that Yang Ling still seemed indifferent, and he assumed it was because he was upset about the arranged marriage. A hint of helplessness and apology crossed the old man's face. Yang Ling spotted this immediately. This was what he'd been waiting for. Seemingly casually, Yang Ling pulled out a jade pendant from his pocket. He toyed with it and said with a smile, "I have no idea what this jade pendant is made of, but I really like it." "Sir, you're a resourceful person, right? Could you help me find a few more? I want to have some made for my parents and sister." Mr. Lu took the jade pendant curiously. He wasn't much of an antique expert, but he could tell that the jade used for this pendant was different from the usual stuff, so it would be hard to find more. However, he felt like the Lu family owed Yang Ling, and he really didn't want to be in anyone's debt. He wasn't afraid of anything except owing someone, so he laughed and said, "Okay, I'll help you with that." Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish to not owe any favors. Wish value +1. Current progress, February 10th. Yang Ling touched his nose, a little embarrassed. He'd been making a small calculation, but the old man had actually provided a wish value. He truly admired him. He thought, as expected of a person who has dedicated his life to the country, he has a high moral character. The old man was an impatient type. He immediately called to the bodyguard nearby, "Xiao Wang, take this jade pendant to the purchasing manager and tell him to find a few more pieces made of the same material. The more, the better." The bodyguard nodded and quickly left the villa. Goal achieved. Yang Ling finally smiled. This jade pendant contained the energy the system needed, and finding 10 units of energy and upgrading the system was his top priority right now. He chatted with the old man for a while longer. Because his parents couldn't stand being surrounded by people, they had already headed home after saying goodbye. Seeing his chance to shine, Yan Xing volunteered to drive them. Not long after they left, the lights in the entire venue suddenly dimmed, and soft music began to play. The dance was starting. As in previous years, the dance would be hosted by Han Yakin, the head of Mohua Group's personnel department, who was known as one of the company's top beauties. Tonight, Han Yakin was wearing a purple evening gown. Although she was in her 40s, she looked as vibrant as a woman in her mid-20s because of how well she took care of herself. As she slowly walked onto the stage, everyone looked at her in surprise, and many men couldn't hide their smoldering gazes. Her appearance was delicate and beautiful, and her body and demeanor radiated a mature charm that was irresistible to men. Stepping onto the stage, she smiled softly under the gazes of the audience. As everyone knows, this dance party has always been a platform for young people to show their talents over the years. We need to have not only good looks, but also talent. Tonight, Mr. Huang Qiao, a famous musician, has been specially invited to judge the talents of our young people. So, everyone needs to put on a good show. If you like the God-level wish system, all domain domination, please bookmark it. Novelhall.com. The God-level wish system, all domain domination has the fastest update speed. Dear, this chapter is over. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 85. You are not even as good as dogs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember that for a second. As she finished speaking, the spotlight landed on an older gentleman on the second floor, Huang Qiao, the renowned musician, Mr. Huang himself. A gasp rippled through the crowd. They hadn't expected the family to invite such a distinguished master. These family banquets weren't just about catching up and discussing family and business matters. The dance performances were a crucial part of the evening. High society cares about more than just matching families. Talent and skill matter too. Each young person's performance would be carefully noted and shared within their circle. Whether it was a young man or woman, the more impressive their skills, the more sought after they'd be. It would give them a significant advantage in future relationships or business deals, so everyone took it very seriously. With a music legend like Huang Qiao in the house, getting a compliment from him was a huge deal. Under the watchful eyes of the guests, Huang Qiao smiled and said, "Lao Lu and I go way back. Relax and just do your best." Mr. Lu chuckled, "Old Huang, how can they not be nervous with a legend like you watching? Alright, let's get this show on the road." The old man gave a nod to Yang Ling and then walked back up to the second floor. Now, all eyes were on Zhang Jiehua. Talent-wise, besides Lu Muhan, he was the most gifted of the young people present. In previous years, he always opened the show, with Lu Muhan closing it. Feeling the weight of everyone's attention, Zhang Jiehua seemed to revert back to his leading man persona. He flashed a charming smile, cast a provocative glance at Yang Ling, and confidently strode onto the stage. A servant quickly brought him his violin. He gracefully took it and began to tune it. Lin Xiaoshuan giggled, "Jiehua is amazing. Even his tuning is so cool." Several other rich kids around her laughed. One of them glanced at Yang Ling, making sure he could hear, and said loudly, "Of course. We've had top-notch training since we were kids. Jiehua's musical talent is especially outstanding. There's no comparison with some slum kid." Another chimed in, "You're wrong. That wild child may be undisciplined, but he can fight. He's like a junkyard dog. Having a junkyard dog around can be useful. Come to think of it, I'd like to get one to play with." They didn't mention any names, but their words were clearly directed at Yang Ling, and the intent was brutal. Lin Xiaoshuang, oblivious or uncaring, giggled, "I'd rather raise you than a big dog." Lu Muhan frowned and, with a dismissive glance at the group, said coldly, "My family doesn't keep dogs. But some people, all they're good for is eating, drinking, and having fun. They're not even as good as dogs." With that, she turned and walked away. The group was stunned. Lu Muhan had just ripped into them, and it was nasty. She was clearly sticking up for Yang Ling. Their faces darkened with anger. They were fuming, but they wouldn't dare retaliate against Lu Muhan. Instead, they glared at Yang Ling. But when they turned their heads, they felt like they had walked into a freezer. Chapter 86. What are you doing on your knees? Kidney deficiency. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Besides Yang Ling's cold stare, an electric current seemed to crackle in the air. Then came a thud as the coin slammed into the guy's knees. His legs buckled, and he went down hard. Every eye in the place swiveled toward him, widening in surprise. What the heck? Why'd that dude suddenly drop to his knees? Yang Ling smirked, stepping forward to stand over them. Having some kidney issues? Need me to call an ambulance? The guy's face turned a lovely shade of liver. Yang Ling had tricked him into kneeling in front of everyone. Even if he lived it down, the kidney deficiency rumors would haunt him forever. How could he ever show his face again? He tried to get up, but halfway there, his knees gave out, and he face-planted again. With Yang Ling's throwing skills maxed out, he knew exactly where to hit and how hard to make a guy unable to stand. Oof! This time, he was kneeling right at Yang Ling's feet. People's eyes bulged. Some actually thought the guy was just drunk and suffering from, well, you know. This young buck's already burning the candle at both ends, huh? Honey, you're over 40 and still going strong. I'm impressed. The crowd murmured amongst themselves, convinced of their assessment. Up on stage, Zhang Jiehua called out, "What's wrong with you guys? Get up!" The dude was beet red, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. Yang Ling looked down at them, his voice flat. Only dogs kneel to people. Nobody kneels to dogs. If you can't handle it, go home, get your mojo back, and try again. Those were fighting words, cementing the kidney deficiency insult. A staff member finally came over and helped the guy up. Even though his legs were fine, his pride was shattered, and he didn't want to stay. Giving Yang Ling a venomous look, he bolted from the villa. Ding! You've satisfied the crowd's desire for drama. Wish value +1. Current progress /10. Ding! You've crushed someone's hope of making fun of you. Attribute point +1. A few smarter people had figured it out. This guy had messed with Yang Ling and gotten what was coming to him. The fact that he could make someone kneel without them even realizing it was pretty impressive. They looked at Yang Ling with newfound respect, and maybe a little fear. Yang Ling didn't even glance at the pale Lin Xiaoshuang. He was too busy looking at Lu Muhan with curiosity. Anyone who could get in here had some connections. The fact that the female CEO had stuck up for him earned her a lot of points. After that little sideshow, everyone's attention swung back to Zhang Jihua. He was just a clueless rich kid, but this guy, Yang Ling, was the real deal. By now, Zhang Jihua was ready. He took a deep breath, fixed his gaze on Yang Ling, and said, I hear Yang Ling is a master of all instruments. I wonder, can you play the violin? That the question hung in the air. Yang Ling raised an eyebrow, surprised, then laughed. What, you want to have a jam session? Zhang Jihua's confidence was oozing. No need. I just want to make a bet. We'll see who plays the violin better. If I win, I get to dance with Muhan. If you win, you get to invite her. Of course, if you're chicken, just say so. Chapter 87 Smash the Strategy, Reverse General. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The moment he said that, the room went silent. It was one thing for the young master to be competitive, but the stakes he'd just proposed were, a dance with Lu Muhan. Lu Muhan frowned, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. Nobody here was a fool. They could all see right through Zhang Jihua's little game. First, he'd been trying to get her to dance with him at these family functions for years, only to be turned down. Now, he was putting her on the spot, betting in front of everyone, making it harder for her to refuse. Second, it was payback against Yang Ling, a way to save face. After what happened earlier, there was no repairing the relationship between their families. If Yang Ling backed down, it'd be seen as a complete surrender, a loss of face. These social circles valued courage and composure above all else. Losing wasn't the end of the world, but stage fright was a major taboo. The most important thing, though, was that Zhang Jihua couldn't lose. Everyone knew Yang Ling was a good piano player, but being truly proficient in one instrument at his age was already impressive. Mastering two? That was a whole different level. Besides, the violin was arguably even harder than the piano. No way Yang Ling could beat Zhang Jihua on the violin. It was a calculated move, cutting off all escape routes for Yang Ling. People looked at Zhang Jihua with newfound respect. To be so calculating at such a young age, he was definitely living up to his reputation as a leader of the next generation. Seeing the shifted gazes, Yang Ling chuckled, meeting Zhang Jihua's eyes. Since you're so confident, I wouldn't want to disappoint you. Miss Lu is a treasure, I wouldn't presume to dance with her. Let's change the bet. If I win, how about you do a striptease? Whoa, a collective gasp swept through the room. Yang Ling was playing hardball. But then, they realized what he was doing. With that one sentence, he was being respectful, making it clear he wouldn't force Lu Muhan to do anything she didn't want to. By contrast, Zhang Jihua looked like a pushy jerk. Second, he was setting up Zhang Jihua for a major humiliation. If Yang Ling actually won, whether he did the striptease or not, Zhang Jihua would be permanently disgraced. Finally, he backed Zhang Jihua into a corner. If he refused, he'd look like he lacked confidence, and he couldn't change the bet and make Yang Ling do a striptease either. That would imply that stripping was more important to him than a dance with Lu Muhan. He was a master strategist, indeed. Some people put it together, and their jaws nearly dropped. Well played, calculated, so cunning. Terrifying. Just who is this Yang Ling? Up on the second floor, the old man raised his eyebrows, a smile playing on his lips. With that kind of adaptability and cunning, his future grandson-in-law was a diamond in the rough. The more he looked at Yang Ling, the more pleased he became. Huang Lao, standing beside him, was equally impressed. "Where did you find this one, old friend? He's quite the eye-opener." Back on the stage, Zhang Jiehua's face was like thunder. Yang Ling's knowing smirk only made it worse, but he had unwavering faith in his violin skills, and there was no turning back now. He gritted his teeth. "Fine. You're on." He turned toward the second floor, raising his voice. "Old Huang, will you be our judge?" Huang Lao nodded in agreement. Chapter 88 Sister Muhan, This Yang Ling is Lost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. You crushed Zhang Jiehua's hopes for a stone bird. Attribute point +1. Ding. Lu Muhan thinks you're more of a gentleman than Zhang Jiehua. Favorability +5. Current favorability, 40. Yang Ling smiled, but then seemed to sense something. He turned to see Lin Xiaoshuan glaring at him. Huh? Understanding dawned on him, and a light flickered in his eyes. Zhang Jiehua, unflappable after the initial embarrassment, took a deep breath and started to play the violin. He chose a well-known Polish waltz, a piece celebrated for its unique artistic spark. The tune was challenging, but he'd been practicing for over a decade, and his performance was smooth. Many listeners closed their eyes, lost in the music. Upstairs, the old man asked softly, "Old Huang, what do you think?" Huang Lao smiled and nodded slightly. His technique and emotional control are solid. He's practically a professional violinist. Oh, the old man seemed surprised. He glanced at Zhang Jiehua, then back at Yang Ling, a worried look on his face. Lin Xiaoshuan watched Zhang Jiehua, who was playing with his eyes closed, and said with a smile, "Muhan, Jiehua is so talented." Lu Muhan's expression remained calm, but a hint of worry crept into her eyes. When the song ended, the audience erupted in applause. Zhang Jiehua sighed contentedly, pleased with his performance. He smiled confidently, looked up to the second floor, and asked impatiently, "Old Huang, what did you think of my playing?" Huang Lao seemed a little put off by his impatience, but he replied with a professional smile, "The technique is good, and you have mastery of the music. Your emotional control could use some work, but considering your age, this is a remarkable achievement. If I were to grade it, I'd give you a 9.5, Everyone was stunned. Huang Lao was known for his strictness. He rarely gave young performers high marks and usually pointed out their flaws. But he gave Zhang Jiehua a 9.5. That was high praise. Whispers of admiration rippled through the crowd. Lin Xiaoshuan was practically giddy with delight. Zhang Jiehua, puffed up with pride, turned to Yang Ling and said, "Your turn." Shoo! All eyes turned to Yang Ling. The guy was cunning, and he could play the piano pretty well, but beating Zhang Jiehua on the violin? Almost impossible. "Hey, Yang, it's okay if you don't play the violin. Everyone's time is valuable. Just admit you can't do it and be friends with Jiehua." "Yeah, Jiehua and Muhan have been friends since they were kids. A little dance is fine, so don't try to be so competitive. Look, Yang, you have to be realistic. Sometimes you have to take a step back. Don't take this so seriously." On the surface, these sounded like words of advice, but they were loaded with hidden meanings. They were mocking Yang Ling for being overconfident, hoping he would just give up and embarrass himself. Lin Xiaoshuan giggled and said, "Muhan, Yang Ling is going to lose for sure. When you dance with Jiehua, make sure you get him to treat us all to dinner." Chapter 89 Ear is about to be pregnant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Muhan scoffed, her eyes filled with worry. Seeing all eyes on him, Yang Ling smiled, stood up and strolled towards the stage. Zhang Jiehua sneered from the stage, "So, you actually showed up." Taking the violin, Yang Ling said, "Some people are so full of themselves, but honestly, your confidence is just an act." As he passed, Zhang Jiehua hissed, "This is just the beginning. I'll settle the score with you later. Yang Ling scoffed and walked onto the stage. He considered Zhang Jiehua just another clown looking for attention. He calmly sat, glanced at the crowd, and without waiting for Mr. Huang, he casually tested the strings. Then, he began to play. Ding! Instrument proficiency skill activated. The system chimed as beautiful notes poured from his fingers. Whoa! Mr. Huang gasped. Is that Shekon dance? The performance was amazing. Not only Mr. Huang, the musician, but also everyone in the audience who barely knew a thing about violins was blown away. He can actually play. Wow, that sounds incredible. Surprise turned to awe as the music continued. Yang Ling's notes were as clear as a mountain rain, as passionate as the sun, and as serene as a boat on a moonlit lake, drawing everyone into a beautiful world. Men and women alike closed their eyes, lost in a captivating dream. The room was silent except for the beautiful violin music. Everyone was entranced, except for Zhang Jiehua. He looked like he'd swallowed a bug. Hearing that music, he knew he'd lost, plain and simple. Just as the music was about to reach its peak, it abruptly stopped, shattering the dream. Everyone snapped awake, staring at Yang Ling with resentment. They looked like scorned lovers. Yang Ling gave a helpless smile. Sorry, I forgot the sheet music. Maybe I'll play it for you next time. The audience gasped, their resentment palpable. Even though it was incomplete, the performance worked. After a moment, the crowd erupted. Oh my God, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. My ears are in love. Please, play it all the way to the end. Hey, should we set up a meeting between Yang Ling and our daughter? Are you crazy? She's only 10. Seeing their reactions, Yang Ling grinned to himself, forgetting the sheet music. With his perfect memory. He did it on purpose. You were making fun of me. Now you're left wanting more. Chapter 90. I am not qualified to rate Yang Ling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding, you just obliterated everyone's chance to hear good music, attribute point +1. Yang Ling grinned to himself. Meanwhile, old man Huang was finally snapping out of it, practically in tears. He looked at Yang Ling on the stage and shouted, "This kid's a genius, a real genius." After all these years, Chinese music finally has a prodigy. Lao Lu, I want him. I promise I can make him a global superstar within a year. Mr. Lu was all smiles. Chuckling, he said, sounds more like you want to marry your granddaughter off to him, you sly old fox. The old man looked a bit embarrassed, but chuckled back, hey, she's not even old enough yet, but if the kid's interested, we could always get the ball rolling early. Secretly pleased he'd gotten in there first, old man Lu put on an indignant face. Oh, so suddenly you have a granddaughter? Alright, quit the nonsense and give him a score. Everyone's eyes were glued to Huang Lao. After taking a deep breath, he said gravely, I'm not qualified to judge Xiaoyang. I simply don't have his level of skill. But if you're forcing me to put a number on it, I'd give him a 120 out of 100. But since Xiaoyang forgot the music, I have to deduct 20 points, so let's settle at 100. The crowd erupted. This music master was saying his own skill wasn't as high as Yang Ling's. Even if it was an exaggeration, it showed how incredibly talented Yang Ling was. Honestly, there was no need for him to score at all. Everyone knew Yang Ling's violin playing was far superior to Zhang Jiehua's. What they didn't know was Huang Lao wasn't kidding. Yang Ling really was on another level. Everyone began showering Yang Ling with praise. Several young women started eyeing the young man on stage, quietly making mental notes. Lu Muhan let out a relieved breath, a small smile gracing her lips. She looked at Yang Ling, her eyes filled with a strange emotion. Lin Xiaoshuang, standing beside her, looked completely dumbfounded. That nobody is so talented. Even Jiehua can't compare. That can't be right. How could things have turned out this way? If this keeps up, won't Muhan fall for him? No way. I can't let him win. Just then, the system chimed in Yang Ling's mind. Ding, you've fulfilled Lu Muhan and Mr. Lu's wish for you to win, favorability +5. Current favorability is 45. Ding, you crushed Zhang Jiehua and Lin Xiaoshuang's wishes, attribute points +2. Yang Ling smirked, turning to Zhang Jiehua. So, Master Zhang, how about you come up here and dance for the crowd? Oohoo! All eyes landed on Zhang Jiehua, whose face paled. He'd made the bet himself. Yang Ling agreed after changing the stakes. Now, in front of everyone, he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. Seeing that he didn't move, Yang Ling sneered. Can't handle losing. Any normal person knows that admitting defeat is the right thing to do. Guess you rich kids don't get it. Looks like some of these so-called social elites aren't even as good as the average Joe. Yang Ling was pushing his luck. The audience considered themselves high society, and now Zhang Jiehua had embarrassed the whole group. Everyone glared at him.